Hello, I'm Ilana Gilovich, a PhD candidate at Columbia University, today discussing the Serbian film Midwinter Night's Dream. Rarely do contemporary adaptations of William Shakespeare's A Midsummer Night's Dream take up the play's nightmarish themes, opting instead to embrace the overarching levity and vivacity of Shakespeare's text. However, a Serbian film adaptation of Midsummer represents a bleak departure from tradition. Goran Paskaljević's Zimske Noci, or Midwinter Night's Dream, was released in 2004 and addresses the breakup of Yugoslavia and the ensuing political tensions in that region. Midwinter's seasonal shift signals a harsher ecological change, and its wanderers suggest diaspora and curse rather than escape and diversion. The film uses contemporary Serbian language in place of traditional Shakespearean dialogue and employs a dim, almost shabby mise en scène, performing a spatial and temporal uprooting of Midsummer to address ecological upset in post-dissolution Serbia. I argue that Midwinter explores the intersections between ecological crisis, migration, and displacement. The film implies that war and other man-made horrors destroy landscapes and set refugees in motion. Midwinter illustrates how warfare alienates humans from nature, eroding ties both to the earth and to other people. As a response to this crisis, Midwinter employs Shakespeare's tropes of insight and seeing, urging its viewers to examine links between human violence and the destruction of the natural world. Paskaljević's film establishes its fixation with issues of transport, migration, and ecological destruction through the use of tracking shots detailing unearthed, scarred lands. Midwinter's opening scene follows a bus driving through the woods, in which bare trees are superimposed onto protagonist Lazar through a bus window. Here, he is already in motion and separated from the land by a glass man-made boundary. He is not journeying to a new beginning, but returning home to the site of a fraught past. A former soldier in the Serbian army, Lazar deserts after experiencing scenes of horrific violence and brutality. He returns, suffering from PTSD, to an unrecognizable Belgrade. Midwinter Serbia is rife with bulldozers, smokestacks, power plants, and unsightly metal scrap heaps. Paskaljević includes few shots of the natural world, implying that his characters are left to deal with both political and ecological wreckage. A rare glimpse of green appears only through a character's television screen. In this adaptation, Midsummer's verdant forest is indeed a fantasy realm, far removed from Serbia's grim reality. True to its title, Midwinter situates viewers within a wintry, desolate landscape. By inaugurating themes of spatial and temporal frigidity, Paskaljević constructs a cinematic backdrop against which his characters struggle to seek out warmth. His contemplation of frostiness across geographic and emotional planes finds its precedent in Shakespeare's text. Throughout Midsummer, colder climes imply upset, as demonstrated in Oberon and Titania's fight for marital supremacy. Shakespeare toys with the word distemperature in Titania's icy rebuke to Oberon, signaling bitterness of temperature and temper. The seasonal aberration stems directly from discord. Titania explicitly notes how, quote, this same progeny of evil comes from our debate, from our dissension. Likewise, Paskaljević locates human conflict as the source of environmental strain. Midwinter suggests that rifts between nations and individuals sever bonds between humans and nature by ravaging landscapes and demolishing communities. Lazar returns home to discover two Bosnian refugee squatters, a mother Maria and her autistic daughter Giovanna, living in his apartment. The three outcasts form a surrogate family, in which Lazar and Maria enter into a romance, and Lazar considers Giovanna his adopted daughter. However, Paskaljević resists a straightforward treatment of the film as unifying. Instead, he counters the giddy insanity of Midsummer with the haunting madness of Midwinter's traumatized veteran. Lazar is plagued by nightmares of his wartime experiences, grisly scenes that dominate both his brain and the film's screen. Here, dreaming is not a fantastical escape, but recurring evidence of human carnage. Paskaljević complicates Shakespeare's construction of seeing as a purely emancipatory practice. He intimates throughout his film that characters like Lazar are mad from having seen too much. Similarly, Paskaljević hints that the Serbian nation's past drama is the reason for its current state of collective insomnia and ecological blindness. Haunted by the damned spirits of black-browed night, Lazar's PTSD prevents him from seeing and acting in the present. He asks for Giovanna to look into his eyes. When she does, he experiences her as, quote, almost human. Lazar envisages Giovanna's autism like Midsummer's love potion, a quote, hateful imperfection of her eyes that can eventually be undone. His myopic desire to have Giovanna, quote, cured, recalls Hermia's line in Midsummer, I would my father looked but with my eyes. Lazar is depicted as blind to Giovanna's unique modes of perception. Because Giovanna is not implicated in the structures of war and commerce, she is the only character who seems to learn from and engage with the natural world. Constructing imaginary forests with construction paper, Giovanna creates visual portals to a greener world of fantasy. Giovanna uses a pair of scissors to cut and shape the natural world rather than cut herself off from it. In a tragic plot twist near the end of the film, Maria's former lover fatally stabs her with the same pair of scissors. This man-made tool is wielded differently in different moments, a technology used either to create or to destroy. Here, Lazar's clouded vision, shaped by experiences of human violence, has deadly consequences. Lazar returns home to find Maria's body punctured by the scissors and assumes that Giovanna has killed her. As a result, Giovanna and Lazar drive off with Maria's body in the back seat. The character's final journey occurs in the film's first visual recognition of spring. Pink and white blossoms surround the car as it drives through a cherry orchard, yet both the car and its inhabitants seem impervious to this encompassing natural beauty. Indeed, the car both contains evidence of human destruction, Maria's corpse, and embodies it. It is a man-made vehicle that pollutes the earth and enables migratory patterns. At Midwinter's climax, Giovanna exits the car and retreats into the woods, while Lazar remains still within the frame of the car. Here, plot and technique collude with one another. The film's final cinematic shot contains a final shot, as a concluding image of the woods is pierced by the sound of a single gunshot. Paskaljevic fails to reveal the bullet's final resting place. It remains unclear whether Lazar pulls the trigger on himself or on his adopted daughter. Unlike Titania, who promises to raise her changeling boy in his dead mother's memory, for her sake I will not part with him. Lazar cannot do the same for Giovanna at Midwinter's suspenseful conclusion. Nation and family remain fractured and adrift. Midwinter appears to implore its audiences to liberate themselves from any optical obstructions in the name of viewing themselves and the fledgling Serbian nation with the eyes and with the mind. Rather than relying on the fairy world to mend human strife and retreating into the liminal space of sleep, Paskaljevic urges his viewers to scrutinize their surroundings. With the benefit of this rare vision, audiences may see that it is not the land, but its human assailants that must be translated. The same piece of land in the Balkan Peninsula, seen and reimagined differently, became irrevocably altered by human discord. Yugoslavia's scattered state incurred death and destruction, causing veterans like Lazar to see, quote, more devils than vast hell can hold. With his figurative vision impeded by war, Lazar failed to see the ameliorative properties of both his changeling child and the natural world. Furthermore, unlike Puck's final reassuring monologue in Midsummer, which invites audiences to imagine that you have but slumbered here while these visions did appear, Midwinter's traumatic ending seemingly transfers the burden of insomnia and uneasiness to its viewers. Ultimately, the camera itself is represented as an omnipotent pair of eyes, able to penetrate the elusive psychology of the film's characters. In capturing the narratives of characters that fail to see or see correctly, the camera seems to expose flawed or short-sighted perception. Perhaps Paskaljevic hopes to convey how politically resonant films like Midwinter can make a compelling claim that they can show us what we cannot otherwise see. Midwinter suggests that only through the process of waking up and dispelling fantasy, rather than physically or psychologically fleeing, can the Serbian nation and the globe, quote, make amends and begin to construct a fully integrated, sustainable reality. Thank you.